morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we finally know what the Battle Styles pre-release promos are. Now, I know a few of you got in touch with me after my previous video saying, well, hang on a second, Wossy. We do know the Battle Styles pre-release promos. No, we didn't. Essentially, what we had were placeholder numbers, which we were fairly sure were the pre-release promos, but we didn't know for sure. We hadn't seen images. We hadn't seen them. But now we have seen the pre-release promos. They are the ones, of course, that we were fairly sure they would be, and they have been shared with me by the lovely Talonite X. And I'm going to be honest with you, all four of these promos are good. It is hard to pick. I'm going to show you them all. I'm going to rank them all as I tend to do. It is hard to do that here because they're all really good. But I suppose in at number 4, we've got Cherub. And let's be clear, I think Cherub is a really good card. But I do think when you put them all side by side, Cherub is the weakest of them. Although, like I've said a couple of times, let me say it one more time nice and clearly. Just because it is the weakest of them does not make it a bad card. Now, Cherub's got the ability Spring Bloom that says as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box. And this is a phenomenal ability. It's a kind of ability we've seen over and over again winning the World Championships. Blastoise did it for Water Pokemon. Emboar did it for Fire Pokemon. It's a great ability, and it's on a stage 1, not a stage 2. The issue we've got with Cherub is partners. I don't really know what we're using with Cherub here. I don't have a great partner in mind. Now, the good news is any Pokemon that uses grass or colorless energy is going to love it. It's going to be awesome. But I just don't know what's coming in here. I don't know what we're using. Now, there is a Tapu Bulu coming that does 160 for free energy if you discard all the energy. But that's a very energy-hungry deck, so I'm not entirely sure. I think Cherub is a great card, and as soon as we get a really good card that is either a grass or uses colorless energy, whether it's colorless or not, and doesn't have a rule box, this Cherub's going to be nuts. But I don't think we're there yet. Incidentally, of course, these all do have alternate artwork, as you can see. In at number 3, and honestly, right, 1, 2, and 3, you could switch around as you like, but I'm putting number 3 as Oxillary, and again, it's really not terribly fair, because Oxillary is awesome. Oxillary lets you, again, the attacks on both these first 2 Pokemon kind of suck. In fact, the attacks on all 4 of these Pokemon suck. We're playing them all for the ability. We're not going to talk about the attacks very much because the attacks are not good. There we go. Now, Oxillary's got the rather nice ability Rapid Strike Search, which lets you, once during your turn, search your deck for a Rapid Strike card and put it into your hand. What is interesting, however, is it's not limited to any particular kind of card. So sure, you can go and get yourself Rapid Strike Pokemon, and that's really good, but you can get yourself, say, Rapid Strike Energy, which of course is to water/fighting energy, which is pretty awesome. Or you could get yourself a Rapid Strike supporter, like, for instance, Mustard, which is very, very much like Archie's Ace in the Hole, but for Rapid Strike Pokemon rather than Water Pokemon. Or the upcoming Korrina's Motivation, which is basically just a reprint of Bianca. So you can use this to get yourself your Pokemon, or your energy, or a draw supporter, and that's kind of my point here. If you're playing a Rapid Strike deck, this seems really good. Now, it is limited to once during your turn, and that means no matter how many Oxillary you've got out, you'll only be performing 1 Rapid Strike search. You can have as many Oxillary as you like, you're only getting 1 search. And I suppose that hurts it a little bit, and Rapid Strike decks have not been taken over the meta as much as I had hoped quite yet. Although again, it really must be borne in mind here that we are super early, so this could all change. And I love Oxillary, and honestly, I could see an argument for putting Oxillary as number 1, but I'm putting it in as number 3. In at number 2, we got a card which really has been making waves over in Japan since it was released, and this is Bronzong. I love this new Bronzong. Bronzong's got an ability we've seen a million times before. We saw it on Aromatisse for Fairy Energy. We saw it on Hydreigon for Darkness Energy. It's just a phenomenal ability that lets you move all of your Metal Energy around as you like. But Metal Energy is particularly good. The combo here with Metal Sorcerer is phenomenal. Lets you attach a Metal Energy from your discard to one of your bench Metal Pokemon. So you Metal Sorcerer an energy onto Bronzong, and then Bronzong can move it anywhere you like on your field. Tell me that doesn't sound amazing. You'd be lying. It definitely does sound amazing. We can use this with Zacian. Zacian obviously being one of the best attackers in the entire game, free energy 230, can't attack next turn, but now if you can just switch or retreat your Zacian, what you essentially do is attack with Zacian, switch or retreat, move the energy up and keep rolling. So now rather than having to get out and then back in the active because it takes free energy and it's hard to get to Zacian and all of that, you just get out the active, move the energy up to a new one and you're fine. If you're using evolved Pokemon, this is clearly going to be amazing with Cheryl. Cheryl is basically max potion for all of your evolved Pokemon. Any that have damage you remove, but any you remove damage from, you also have to remove the energy. But that's alright, because essentially what you do is you move all your energy either to undamaged evolved Pokemon, or just basic Pokemon because Cheryl doesn't work with your basics. Then you play Cheryl, completely heal up, put the energy back where you like, and roll. This is an ability that's always been good. And this fits in beautifully into Zacian decks. It fits in beautifully into Mewtwo and Mew decks. And we have seen Mewtwo and Mew decks winning over in Japan. I did a video on it. I'll link it in the description. So far over in Japan because, you know, it means you can use stuff like Zacian, etc. But like I've said, we talked about this a lot with Mewtwo and Mew. One of the issues early game is just trying to get the energy on to Mew. Or Mewtwo and Mew. And that's awkward. But now, you can Metal Sorcerer onto a Bronzong, move it over onto a Mewtwo and Mew, and then you're just off and raring to go. It's so good. And we've already seen it doing really well in Zacian decks. We've already seen it doing really well in Mewtwo and Mew decks. And I'm sorry, I refuse to believe it's not going to be good in a whole bunch of decks moving forward. Any deck that can use colorless or metal energy has got to look at this really seriously. And then, of course, if you're an evolution deck and this lets you use Cheryl with essentially no downside, it's so good. But in at number 1's Houndoom, and I do think Houndoom is the best of them, though again, it's difficult because of how gosh darn good these cards are. But Houndoom's got the amazing ability that lets you once during your turn, search your deck for a single strike energy, attach it to a single strike Pokemon, and if you attached an energy, you got to put 2 damage counters on there. Though there are ways around that. There's Pokemon that deal more damage for each damage counter on them, etc. It's not the end of the world. But the fact of the matter is, what we've got here is, well, multiple things. I should remind you at this stage, Single Strike Energy is basically strong energy for Single Strike Pokemon. It lets you do an extra 20 damage. So if you add this all up, basically what you're doing is you're accelerating energy, but you're accelerating from the deck. And if you've been playing the game a while, you'll realise quite how amazing that is. It means you don't have to get the energy in a discard, you don't have to draw it or any of that. It's always just in the deck ready to go. And this is unlike Oxillary. It's not limited to once during your turn, so you can do this with multiple Houndoom if you've got multiple Houndoom. And it doesn't take your energy attachment for the turn, which means you can still attach for the turn as well. And you're doing an extra 20 damage for each of your single strike energy attached. So if you've got 3 or 4 Houndoom out, you can accelerate 3 or 4 single strike energy, and then do an extra 60 or 80 damage. You can get Pokemon that really should not be rolling this quickly while doing a huge amount of extra damage. Houndoom is good, but you've got to play Single Strike Energy in Single Strike decks. Doing the extra damage, it's too gosh darn good. You can't not use it. And if you're using Single Strike Energy, you've got to use Houndoom to accelerate it. So, yeah, I mean, Houndoom has got to be, I mean, a 2-2 line as an absolute minimum. You've got to think it is. So, frankly, I do think this is the best of them, and I do think it is. I think there is a noticeable gap between these and the others, but let's be clear, I think all 4 of them are nuts, and I think that Cherub is clearly number 4, and you could flick the other 3 around, but even then, I'm still a huge fan of all of them. I think this is the best lot of pre-release promos we've had in a while. Now, the last time I said this, we were talking Vivid Voltage. Now, Vivid Voltage, as it turns out, they've not ended up being as playable as I had hoped. The best one among them actually ended up being the Snorlax, which let you draw until you got 7 cards in your hand, which is clearly good and has seen a bunch of play. I really thought all the ones from Vivid Voltage would end up being better, but unfortunately, it's not ended up being there, which is a little bit sad. The Charizard obviously was also a big draw there for fairly obvious reasons. It's Charizard. Of course, the gold standard up to now has currently proven to be Team Up, because Team Up brought us both Jirachi and Zapdos that were amazing, but the others weren't quite on the same level, and I don't know, I feel like this might be the best ones. I think this might be the best lot of 4. I could be wrong. Tell me in the comment section. But I see 4 cards here which all are potentially not quite game-breaking, although Bronzong and Houndoom potentially could be. But all 4 really good cards. I don't know, argue with me in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.